Hey folks, it's Brookes with Character Design Forge. A topic that we kind of keep revisiting the last few months is those struggle points, whether it has to do with burnout, crunch, motivation, and while it's not a new subject at all, I thought we'd follow suit. This video is about when you've got the motivation to draw, you sit down to, and the actual pencil to paper, literally or figuratively, is just giving you trouble. There's a few possibilities for why this happens, and it's definitely a little defeating to feel like you should be doing better. And really, a lot of that disposition can be doing more harm than good. There's days where drawing just doesn't come as easily to us, but it could also be that we're jumping too quickly into drawing something complex or intensive completely cold. When you're about to do something physically intensive, like a workout or a run, you do a certain amount of preparation. If you rolled out of bed in the morning and just immediately started sprinting down the street, how far do you think you'd be able to go instead of first getting some water, doing stretches, and getting mentally ready? When we're drawing, it's incredibly helpful to kind of recalibrate every time we come back to drawing, especially if it's a new day. This can be done through line control and hand control exercises like the one on screen here, and through genuine warm-up drawing. This is not the same as the finished, immaculate-looking, social media-ready art that people will say is simply a warm-up. Maybe that is one of the first things that they drew that day, but it might cause us to think that the only thing we're ever allowed to draw is our best. When we actually take the time to casually, without expectation of ourselves, doodle or draw aimlessly, work through simple shapes and gestural movements, we've gotten warmed up properly. And don't worry either about how long this takes you. There's no timer going off at 10 minutes telling you that you're done warming up and you need to stop. Maybe you're past this point though, and you're still struggling. I know that for me, there's often times where I'm trying to make something new or concept out a new iteration, and I find myself kind of stuck in the same rut, redrawing the same thing without really much change. And this can be a little bit tricky, and there's a lot of reasons why the idea in your head or your expectation for what should happen doesn't quite match up with progress on the page. Maybe you've struck lightning with one specific drawing and you're having trouble recreating it a second time, or from another angle. And if you aren't able to redraw it completely, it may help to figure out what underlying shapes your original is using, and reverse engineer or create new steps from there. This on-screen example is an incredibly overkill thing that I did. I'm not necessarily recommending it, but I mapped out to an absurd extent the construction of a drawing of Koji that I did. This is not a step one would typically be doing, but it ended up being a great learning experience for me drawing him again going forward. I think if you're frustrated that you can't redraw something that you yourself drew previously, if you had somehow caught lightning in a bottle and you can't do it again, it can be helpful to disassociate from that particular drawing. And instead of going, why can't I do this again? Study it the same way that you would any other artist's work and go, how did they arrive at this, as though it's someone else's. I think that effectively drains any harmful ego from that situation. Another solution that may seem totally counterintuitive is to start over and draw the subject completely the wrong way intentionally. This could help break you out of and loosen up any kind of ditch-digging rut that you're in. Expectations can of course be a huge problem, especially when we're coming back to drawing after having not for a while. I know that for me, especially when I have a deadline to meet for work and something just isn't clicking, it can feel paralyzing. But I also realize that a lot of times the problems that I run into while drawing are the result of a rule set that I've created for myself that doesn't really matter most of the time. For example, is it possible for me to draw this character and the setting that they're in from a really odd and difficult angle? Yes. Have I been able to do it before? Sure. Would it be really impressive if I were able to succeed at this? Yes. But if I drew them from a more reasonable angle and was actually able to complete the art, would it in any way detract from the purpose or somehow disappoint someone other than myself? Probably absolutely not. As we grow and learn, we start making better and better artwork. The thing that happens though is that once we've made the best thing we've made yet, we might start to see that as the new bar that all our work will now meet. If our next drawing falls short of that, we get disappointed. But that isn't exactly the case. See, when we improve, we're really shoring up our worst possible output, the lower bar. Our worst gets better, and our good gets more consistent. And every once in a while, but not every time, we can make great work, but we aren't really in control of that. We can only control making good work. Speaking to improvement, one of the reasons we might struggle is because we need to improve on our fundamentals. This might come about because of inexperience, but it can also be the result of us starting to plateau. And recognizing a plateau is a really exciting time, because it means you've really gotten a handle on the things that you've been doing, and it's time to add another set of skills to your belt and level up. Of course, we can't let this video go by without mentioning how important all of the artistically healthy stuff is, and how it can impact the struggle. If you're feeling wrung out or lacking that drive to actually get to the page, you might want to soak in some things from life. Sometimes the mental comparison to other people's work that you've recently consumed can cause you to have some of that immediate inadequacy when we go to draw, because for one thing, you didn't see the struggle that that person went through, only their final product. It may just be the place where I'm at, it could be a reflection of the state of things at large right now, but my own personal focus right now is less on how do we maximize productivity at the expense of everything else, and more, how do we go about things so that they are more thoughtful, sustainable, and enjoyable. In the long run, that will be more productive and valuable anyway, because you haven't burnt out, and chances are you'll have given your brain more processing power and time, which ultimately always feeds back into the creative exercise. We are almost in the month of August, and in late August is when my wife Tay is going to be releasing her book that we announced back at the virtual booth. It's called Writing Complete Characters. It's a book to help you to write characters for fiction, for comics, novels, you name it. And if you're like me and you have more of an affinity for the visual side of your characters, but have a hard time really crafting stories around them, this will absolutely help. You can grab that at brookeseggleston.com/shop at a special pre-order rate. This week is the last chance to grab this month's Biko's backpack at patreon.com/bageldenizen, which includes the keychain that you saw the illustration of in this video, and I'll have a new Biko's backpack for you soon. And of course, the all-new Learn Character Design course is up at learncharacterdesign.com. It's been really exciting to see the feedback and impact of the course already on folks taking it. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.